ba ba boo ba ba. Who's the man who will speak the truth? Boo ba 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 boo ba ba. Lone candles that burn. Who's the man who will bring light into your life? Boo ba 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 boo ba ba. Lone candles that burn. Who's the man who digs through human excrement to present you the gems? Boo ba 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 boo ba boo ba ba. Lone candles that burn. Who's the man who kinda sometimes knows what he's talking about? Boo ba 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 da boo ba ba. Lone candles that burn. Who's the man who has a scatterbrain, low IQ, and weak memory recall? Boo ba 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 da boo ba ba. Lone candles that burn. Who's the man who plays games and complains that he sucks at them? Boo ba 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 da boo ba ba. Lone candles that burn. Hello, welcome. Yeah, that's me over there. Welcome to Lone Candle Live. Today, we got another episode of ReplyGuying with Lone Candle, where I get into random conversations with people on the internet. Good people, good netizens of our electronic tubes that connect the world. And then I tell you about those conversations because you care, the world cares, we all care. All right, let's get into it. It's late, and I'm tired. Alright, so here's what I'm commenting on. I think mainly the meme itself. So let's see, that's Nick Shirley. He did the videos accusing some daycare centers of fraud, and someone posts, well, maybe some background information because no one's on that. There's been quite a bit of fraud in Minnesota out of a variety of places, a lot of it done by Somalis, people of the Somali descent or immigrated here from Somalia directly. And the state of Minnesota is not, my understanding, has not done a good job. A lot of this fraud happened shortly after, mine's going blank. They had all those protests because a cop killed that one black guy. I can't remember his name right now. But anyways, there was a lot of, the George Floyd, I think was his name. Anyways, a lot of protests over that. And in that atmosphere in Minnesota may have affected the Minnesota officials not being as tough as they should have been on fraud, on cracking down on fraud in government programs, since they see a bunch of Somalis committing it and they're like, oh, well, then they'll think we're racist if we crack down. So the Minnesota government really did probably screw up here, and there really was a lot of fraud. So that's what's underlying it. And then this man Nick Shirley created some videos where he went to some daycare centers, put out some stats, and accused of a handful of daycare centers of themselves being fraudulent, which potentially could be good journalism. It potentially could be. If you go there, you do your homework. You don't just visit one or two times. Maybe not bring a group of masked men that might look scary and intimidating, or like ICE, since they're Somali things. And the thing about that fear about ICE isn't just that ICE is getting rid of correct people. They might fear that they're getting rid of people who even have the right to be here. Not saying whether that's fair or not, but that is the fear, and you got to understand that when you're showing up to these places with a group of men. But anyways, he shows up a couple times, at least one of them, when even in their official hours, they're not even open, and then concludes, therefore, they're fraudulent, and then publicly accuses them of fraud. If I'm going to publicly accuse you of fraud, it is on me to have done my homework. It is on me to have got my facts right, to have properly reached out multiple times to try to get in contact. Okay? That's what journalism is. Just quickly filming a few things to make something look one way and then I'm accusing you of something immoral and illegal. That's unethical on your part if you do that. So, unfortunately, that's what he did. So let's look here. This is the meme. Nick Shirley, and I guess this is a quote of him. I don't drink alcohol. I don't do drugs. I'm a virgin. I don't have sex with random girls. I don't have addictions. I don't have vices. So what are they going to get me for? I believe in God. I'm religious. I'm everything they hate. And so the main issue here, the main thing I respond to here is, what are they going to get me for? So he lists how he doesn't have any skeletons in his closet because he lives a very clean life. And that's good. I have no problem with living a clean life. In fact, it's probably generally a good thing. I mean, I like having sex with random girls, but they don't like having sex with me. It's unfortunate. But that's not what this is about, though. But that's the problem. Anyone seriously attacking him or critiquing him for what he's, currently in the news for, what he's currently in our social feeds for, which are these fraud videos, is because he did a bad job. They're not coming after you because there's something to get you for. No, people are critiquing you because you screwed up. You did something unethical. You publicly accused people of fraud without doing the homework. Now, some of these particular places might end up being fraudulent, but if you want them to be fraudulent because you did the homework, because you were actually right, essentially your evidence added up to being fraudulent, and they also turned out to be fraudulent, and that's why those things went together. You don't want to get lucky. And so the problem here is he released videos, publicly accused people of committing fraud, but he really didn't do the homework. He really didn't go down there and make sure they really were committing fraud. He could have gone multiple times. He could have staked out places during their open hours for an hour or two, just sit in a car and eat a sandwich and keep an eye and go, oh, actually, some kids did come. Just showing up a couple times and then not being let in and concluding, oh, you committed fraud, and then publicly accusing someone, that's incredibly irresponsible. Remember, we're in a world where traditional journalism is dying, partially because we have social media and stuff, and it's just easier for people to do this, partly because people with many nuggets of truth, but a lot of it is BS, just hate mainstream media, don't watch it at all, which comes a problem because despite the many problems with traditional journalists, many of them do take very seriously journalism, which involves doing proper research, getting your facts, double checking things, doing the homework, and then saying, hey, this is what we found. Not, these couple of clips make it look like someone committed fraud, so I'm just going to declare they're fraudulent to the people. And then, what do you know? What happened? A bunch of people just believe it. That's not cool. So anyways, the criticism isn't, oh, we got to find something about you. It's no, you did a bad job. And yes, there is a serious underlying fraud issue involving not just Somalis, but often Somalis in Minnesota. And who knows, some of these might end up being fraudulent, but his evidence didn't prove that, or obviously proof is too high of a standard, but his evidence really wasn't sufficient to publicly accuse it of that. And that's irresponsible, and that's what people should be criticizing. So this is all just BS. Don't get me wrong, there are people, I'm sure, who attack him for unfair reasons. And fuck those people. I'm not a fan of those. But we should look to find the steel man. And the steel man is the real thing that people should criticize, and correctly for, was that he did bad journalism. I mean, it wasn't journalism at all. It was more like propaganda. I don't think he intended to do propaganda, but he just screwed up. And if he doesn't recognize that, if he thinks, oh, people are out to get me, well, then he's going to continue to produce really popular and profitable, misleading shit. And that's a problem. That's a mind problem. And, he's not alone. So, yeah. Anywho, something else random that came to mind that is directly related to this one defense, and I think I've seen him himself make this, but a lot of people say, is okay. You know what? I'm going to come back to that because I know I'm going to repeat myself when we get to it here. This one's not too long. But anyways, it was a brief conversation. So here's what I actually said. It was like a week ago, apparently. Misleading videos that falsely accuse people of fraud based on weak evidence, resulting in vandalism, threats, and the stopping of all daycare funds based on false accusations. What? Did I not complete that sentence? Misleading videos that falsely accuse people of fraud based on weak evidence, resulting in vandalism, threats, and the stopping of all daycare funds based on false accusations is the reason people are critiquing him, or should be critiquing him. Not this, and he acts like that's the only reason. Or at least this quote does. I feel like I forgot to write the second sentence here, but you know what I mean now. And the guy I'm talking to seemed to get it too. Well, no, not really. But anyway, so this is the guy I was talking to, Mr. Mayor. I don't know if that's how that's pronounced, but I mean no disrespect. But this is the guy we are reply guying with. And yes, usually when I'm reply guying, I reply guy to whoever this is, but someone else reply guys to my comment, and that's the actual conversation. That tends to be how reply guys go. Anyways, he said, perhaps you could find the kids who were supposedly enrolled. Why are you so upset that fraud was discovered? So my claim here is that fraud wasn't discovered, and even if these particular ones happen to be fraudulent, he didn't do the due diligence, do the homework to actually have strong evidence of it, which you should do that first and then publicly accuse them or display the information. So that's just silly. Why are you upset fraud's discovered? I don't know why he's asking me that. I'm not upset that fraud is discovered. I'm upset that there were misleading videos that didn't do their due diligence, that accused people without proper evidence. Okay, and then he said, perhaps you could find the kids who are supposedly enrolled. Okay, the local, I think it was CBS, a local news organization went there with the camera after this guy's videos came out, and what do you know? They found parents that say, yeah, I used this daycare. They went to the daycare, they found the owners, and they saw kids inside. One of them, they even had video of him showing up, and they said, the owners of the daycare center said, yeah, we didn't open for this guy because we thought it was ICE. They said, yeah, we saw a bunch of guys showing up. I think some of them wearing masks. I don't know why they were wearing masks, but some of them weren't, I don't know why they're wearing masks. Someone wearing masks, probably because they didn't want to be doxxed or something. I have no idea. Whatever his crew was, which I don't know why his crew is so big. But anyways, they thought it was ICE. Now, I don't know if these people were illegal or they just feared ICE in general because of the general fear. But either way, they didn't answer not because they were fraudulent. They didn't answer because they were afraid of them. And it does make sense. In a day and age where we have pedophiles, where we have murderers, and we have mass shootings, it makes sense that if you have kids, other people's kids, that you're taking care of, that you don't just open the door to anyone. And so Shirley just assumed, oh yeah, they did open the door. Must be because they're fraudulent. You know, that, no, that's not enough homework to go declare people frauds. Bad. And so he said, perhaps I could find, could you just Google and look into it? These videos are easy to find. And so, no, that there are kids enrolled was already found. Furthermore, there's government reports. The government looks into these because they are getting funds. And a lot of the ones he went to and called frauds, the government looked to and said, no, there's kids there. A lot of them had many violations, but the nature of those violations weren't, oh, it's fraudulent, there's no kids here. It's that they weren't up to snuff. They had, I don't remember the details, but they had certain things you should be doing and they didn't have up to snuff. But the very nature of those violations implied that there actually are kids there. So the violations themselves actually support that they're not fraudulent, although they might also support that they suck, because they can't keep up to the standards. And in addition to that, the government went through and checked. And they already have reviews, so you could think maybe the government screwed up. That's always possible, but you can't just assume that either. And again, that's in addition to, we have video of actual journalists who showed, oh yeah, there's some children here of these places who you declared fraudulent. And this guy apparently wasn't aware of that. But okay. So I said, well, the kids were found. Real reporters looked into it and found active child care with children. Shirley did a bad job that falsely accused places of fraud with bad evidence. And so he thought that was funny, I guess. He made a laughing emoji. So I guess he thought that was funny. I thought I was informing him. He should be really happy. Maybe he's like, yeah, I was hoping you could find those kids. It looked like someone did. Yeah, I'll go look up that video. Thanks. I'm so happy you informed me. Let's see. He responded, no, genius. I think he meant that sarcastic. I think he meant to say I'm an idiot. Like this was sarcasm, which that's not very nice. I'm not talking to him like that. Fuck you. Now I am. But anyways, but it was mine. He started it. Okay. And I at least meant it jokingly. I think he actually meant it kind of to be rude. But anyways, they weren't. No, genius, they weren't. CBS literally called the daycare centers and asked if they were committing fraud, and then they said no. CBS just took their word for it. Yeah, that's not true. They went there and both interviewed children and parents. I mean, had solved children and interviewed parents. And then magically, as he went to another location, a few kids happened to suddenly be dropped off at the time when nobody actually goes to daycare. I don't know what he's talking about a time when they go to daycare. They went there and found kids. And so he seems to be saying that the people who are doing it fraudulently went and found kids. So they have a fraudulent daycare. They knew the news was coming, and so they went out and found kids and pretended like they're their daycares or had them dropped off at that time. I don't think he has any evidence that was fraud. He's just assuming any evidence that goes against what he initially believed was fake and a trick, which, yeah, that's really stupid. You can't just assume that. Nobody actually goes to daycare, almost like it had been staged by fraudsters or something. So yeah, there's pretty strong proof when you combine the government violations, the government checks, and then the news report that even had video that interviewed parents and showed kids there that essentially proved that what he's saying is wrong. There were kids there, and he just blindly says, nope, it was all a setup. They tricked the journalists by having fake kids, which, hey, that's possible. We can't just say, oh, for sure that wasn't the case. But if you're going to complain, if you're going to assume, if you're going to claim that these daycares got kids and pretended that these are the ones that are taken care of just in time for the news to show up, you've got to have some basis to that. And he doesn't seem to. He seems to just be blindly going, oh, those video are fake. And so, yeah, color me not convinced. So anyways, I said they interviewed people and people there in person and on camera and showed children there. They also interviewed parents who use it. They even videoed the security footage of Shirley showing up and expecting a group of men to be let into a daycare. Some of the daycares were not open when Shirley showed up. He didn't even do basic due diligence to make an accusation of fraud. He just showed up a couple times, and when no one answered to his group of men, he publicly accused these businesses of fraud. The burden of evidence is on making the accusation, and just assuming that evidence against your accusation is staged without evidence is nonsense. The government had recently checked out these daycares and found they were legit. And he thought that was funny also. I don't think I saw him say this. Sometimes I miss notifications, or maybe it's a technical issue, because I didn't respond, but that's fine, because I think this conversation is basically done. So I don't get to respond now. It's been a week. But let's see what he said. You mean the government relied on their own paperwork? Because that's what happened, genius. These daycares only suddenly had kids after the expose, when a journalist didn't go look until after it. He's just assuming that they didn't have kids till after. But he doesn't know that. Basically, the assumption is, oh, they didn't have kids. That was confirmed. Oh, then they're exposed, and now they do. Well, no, we don't. That wasn't confirmed because Shirley didn't do the due diligence to confirm it. Basically, what happened is you have someone have a video that accuses people with bad evidence of committing fraud, and then a journalist goes looks into it, and they found kids. And so, yeah, it looks like they, at least that one, that the journalist found kids, was an active daycare, and Shirley owes that place an apology. This guy, once again, everything's staged, everyone prepared for it, doesn't have any evidence that that's the case. He just assumes, well, if there's evidence against what I believe, it must be fraud. That's not a good way of thinking. That's a good way to just believe what you want to believe, even when it's wrong. Okay, these daycares are suddenly had kids after that expose. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. And then they'd all been coached to say the same thing. Yeah, man, they really planned this cover-up well. Interesting how that happened. Sorry, the Democrat gravy train of fraud is over. But maybe you should stop supporting the theft of taxpayer money? Okay. One thing first of all, I don't support fraud. I'm against it. I believe people who are committing fraud should be cracked down on and charged, so I don't support any of that at all. And the Democrats weren't making money off of this. The fraudsters were. Like, these aren't like political people. These are just people committing fraud. I guess you could say because the Democrats were in charge of Minnesota. Minnesota, my understanding, did fuck up here. As far as, this is their state. They're in charge of some of these federal grants. And they were definitely way too slow on cracking down. So my understanding, Minnesota did screw up. But still, that's particular officials in Minnesota. And it's nothing to do with me. I don't know why he's saying sorry. Like, I feel bad about that. What are you doing? You're not even talking to me. You're just complaining about stuff now or accusing me of things baselessly. But I should stop supporting the theft. I'm not supporting the theft. So, okay, so that's just nonsense. So anyways, that was the end of that. So that's about all I had on that one. Only other thing I think of that I don't think I said yet is I see a lot of places where people say, "Oh, look, these daycares had one defense whenever a journalist goes and checks and goes, dude, you did a horrible job. There are kids here. You just falsely accused these people of being fraudulent and with barely any evidence." One of the responses is, well, but look, but they have a 40 kid capacity. They don't have 40 kids. Like, that's some sort of point. You know, like McDonald's has a certain capacity given by the fire marshal. Would you say that McDonald's, it's usually like 180 people or something. Would you say that McDonald's is fraudulent because there's only 20 people in the McDonald's? That makes no sense. The capacity is your max number. You could be well below capacity and still be an active business. And so, yeah, that doesn't tell you anything. Other than that, the business wasn't booming. Anyways, that's all I have for this. You know, I think the bigger picture here is journalism is dying, partially because we got social media stuff and it's just easier to get free news on social media and on the internet. And so where do the journalists get their funding? And partly because we have a really, really high group of people, especially on the right, who just don't trust the media. And of course, the media is far from perfect, but serious journalism where people are really careful about getting the facts and crossing their T's, dotting their I's, getting good evidence before saying, hey, here's what I found. That's really important because a lot of people just blindly believed what this guy said, including the administration, the presidential administration, when he didn't do a good job. And based on interviews I've seen with him, he doesn't realize it. And so that's bad. So, you know, we need to not just assume things because we see a quick video. We need to find journalists who really do dig in and do the due diligence, show up many times, maybe stake out the place, maybe make several calls, not just show up a couple times and go, well, it looks like something, so I'm going to accuse these people publicly of something unethical. Because when you do that, you're actually doing something unethical. That's not cool. And that's why people should be criticizing him, not because of any personal faults. Even if he had personal faults, they would be irrelevant. You know, if he did a good job, him having sex with random girls, doing drugs, and having addictions actually would be irrelevant. If he did a really good job that had strong evidence that some group or business was committing fraud, and then you look into his personal life, he's kind of a piece of shit. Well, if the evidence is laid out there so you can see it, who gives a crap he's a piece of shit? I care about how good your evidence and how good your argument is, not whether you live a good life otherwise, at least for the goal of figuring out the truth of a certain thing that your video is about or your journalist piece is about. So all this is irrelevant. Anywho, I'm Lone Candle. Like me, comment me, love me. We'll have more Reply Guys in the future. I plan on playing some other computer games so you can watch me suck at games in the future, and eventually I'm going to have another long form piece, which is actually the main point of Lone Candle, is my long form pieces where I basically write an undergraduate paper for you to read, which I don't know why you'd want to read that. But anyways, like me, comment me, love me, and stream. What button do I press?